Hey, what is up everyone, and welcome back to the Animous. Today we're going to do the tutorial that nobody wanted, and is how to use your Gundam Marker Airbrush. Let's get right to it. So the first thing I want to talk about is that, so what is this? So this, you will see them in a lot of different brands are now making them, like you can see off brands there. So this is supposed to be a Gundam Marker Airbrush or Marker Airbrush, period. So this was first released with the hose that will connect to like the different tanks from Mr. Hobby, and you know, some people are very hesitant about this, and a lot of people want to ask about it because, you know, they're either trying to stay on budget, or they have a lot of Gundam markers that they're not using, or, you know, vice versa, right? So I started with Gundam markers, and, you know, then just decided to just start airbrushing right away. At some point I did get one of these, but I didn't use it as much, mainly because of the problems you'll see in the next few videos, right? So my biggest concern with this airbrush was that there was no control. You just press the button here and it just sprays the air out of the nozzle. There's a lot of problems with that, splatter, everything like that. Now a lot of people said, hey, you know, if you use the nubs that they sell, then you wouldn't encounter those issues, right? So, but here's the issue with that. Even if you have one of those nibs, or whatever they want to call them, right? Even if you have one of those, which I do believe that some of mine might have them, it does spray almost evenly. My only issue, or my only gripe with this, is that, see, most of the times it dries up quickly. So if you look at the Gundam marker, tip, so the nib itself, it's a small piece of wood. You can swap these out. They sell different nibs, different types. My biggest concern with this is that it dries out super quick, and so in between sprays, usually you would have to, like, you know, wet in a little bit of alcohol or something of the sort to get that that flowing again, right? So unlike the airbrush, where whenever you run out of paint, you just refill it, keep going, right? So when I first came across this product, I thought it was very convenient for those that, you know, wanted to use their markers for like small detailing or spot painting or anything like that. And with that came the problems. So the biggest issue with this airbrush was one, if you did not buy the one that's the one that just comes by itself, then you wouldn't have it does not bring the adapter for you to be able to use it with normal airbrush hoses. So it does bring a small hose that you use to connect to the little air tanks that it would bring, and well, that's what people will use, and then you just had to keep like rebuying tanks over and over and over. So some people were like, you know what, we could just put an adapter on this and make it work, and that's how it all started. Then they started selling the one that, like this one, which is the one that only brings the adapter for you to be able to use on a normal air compressor hose. So that's the one we have here on the channel. Now I'm gonna do a few takes of, you know, how does it spray, how does the splatter look, and all that, and just so you can have an idea of whether or not this product is for you. Now, with that being said, my opinion is always going to be honest on products like these. This product is completely not worth your time if you're trying to learn how to airbrush. If you are trying to learn how to airbrush, do it right the first time. You know, buy once, cry once, right? So you're gonna go ahead and buy yourself an airbrush with a compressor, and then go from there. Skip this step. Some people use Gundam markers for detailing, which is completely fine. However, you know, getting Gundam markers, or trying to buy a lot of Gundam markers, because I still use them for detailing, but if you're gonna buy Gundam markers for this, don't do it. It's not even cost viable. You know, some of these Gundam markers, depending on where you live, they'll run anywhere from $2.50 to like $5-6. If you live somewhere where you know, they might not have like Bandai distribution or anything like that, or Mr. Hobby distribution, you might end up paying like $6-7, right? So, and I think that the packs are like $20. So so just keep that in mind. It's not really cost effective if you're really trying to learn how to airbrush. All right, now I get it. You know, some people want to say, well, you know, it's convenient. Yes, of course it is convenient. However, if you really think about it, one of these markers, like for example, this is from a set. The set for these markers are $20-something. With $20-something, you can go buy yourself thinner you can buy yourself thinner, you can buy yourself some, you know, some paint, and you can thin it yourself, and then you'll have paint that'll last you forever. Like I still have paints that I bought last year, and I haven't had any, and I still have some left, right? And even though I've been painting nonstop, so cost effective wise, they're not great. Now, with that being said, how do you place your Gundam marker there? So there's little controversy on how you should place it. Myself, I like to make sure that I place the Gundam marker with the point facing, with the tip facing forward. Right? That might be a little bit too, there we go. So that right there, with the tip facing forward. Now, you want to make sure that you do that, that when you do that, you also have to check the tip to make sure it doesn't dry out, which it will. It'll dry out and it'll stop spraying paint. Then you got to stop, put the cap on it, give it a little shake, and then keep going from there, right? Which is another con. So that's what I'm saying. Like myself, I can't recommend this product for anybody that's trying to start airbrushing, because to me, it's just a clunky piece of plastic. And you know, it's if you do it for the first time, if you never airbrushed before, then you're gonna get that feeling and say, oh, you know what, I like this, I like how it feels. But if you were like me, that, you know, I started airbrushing, then I got this because I got had a lot of Gundam markers that I thought maybe I could use to paint, then it's just not worth the effort or the expense, right? So just keep that in mind. Now, next, you're going to be seeing a little bit of the takes that I did with the paint itself. Spraying some spoons. We always got spoons on this channel, so we can spray. I'm not actually going to go ahead and spray a kit with this because I know for a fact it's probably going to ruin it. So let's go ahead and get started. Right, then welcome back. So we did a little test spray on all of these. Now like I was mentioning before, you know, I personally do not use this you know, to paint a whole kit, right? However, the results when you're spraying it are not bad. You know, they're just not the greatest, right? So some people might say that the coverage is fine, that this and that. However, if you've been airbrushing for a while, then you're gonna be able to tell some differences, right? So for example, here we used a Gundam Marker Black for this spoon right here, and even though you can see that it had good coverage, the finish itself is not smooth. It has like this little splatter looking finish to it, right? So let's see if I can get the camera to focus there. It's a little hard since the spoon is painted black. All right, here we go. So if you can see it, you know, you might be able to, you might not, depending on your level of skill. You know, you can see that it looks like a splattered finish. That to me is just not appealing whenever I'm painting a kit. I like it when it looks smooth. So something like this will probably damage my finish. Now, Animous, well, what if I just spray top coat on it or whatever? Well, it might look good, or it might not. It just depends on you know, your finished product. Myself, I like to have that smooth finish when I'm painting a kit. So something like this would deter me from doing it. Now, Now the metallic marker, the Gundam metallic markers have a better finish to them, which I do enjoy. So the pigments actually do cover very well, and that's something that I can appreciate. So in that regard. So then here's the gold. It's the same thing. I love the finish that it leaves. I love the finish that it leaves. The pigments take over very well, and it looks even. So what can I say? The metallic colors, to spray metallic colors, sure, it's great for that. It has it gives a coverage that you need. However, I would still not choose it over a normal airbrush, right? So for example, let me go ahead and grab one of my airbrushes so we can use it as an example. Give me 1 second. All right, so we're back here. So here I have my gallery, my Swallowtail from Gallery in Studio G. So just to use it as an example. So for example, here with this one, whenever you are spraying your paint, it only has one mode, right? And so it's just a single action, right? So you'll just press, air will come out, it'll push the ink from the marker onto whatever part you're painting, right? There's no other form of control. You know, you can't control how much you're spraying, you can't control how much paint you're spraying, and if you, as you can see from my previous video, whenever it dries the tip of the marker, you have to like shake it or take the marker off, press it on a piece of paper or whatever, and it's just inconvenient overall. Whereas, for example, in this airbrush, whenever it's a dual action, so you have your air release, which is good for people that would like to do flash dry, and then you can measure how much paint you're gonna release from your airbrush, right? You can also adjust it so it has a, so you can also adjust it so it has, so it pulls less, pulls more, you know, and it's one of those things. And then you can have the measuring cup, which you can measure how much paint you're gonna use. It's just a level of convenience from an airbrush, and the actual quality of the spray that you're getting, you're not gonna get that out of this. So for those of you that are considering getting this or have already gotten it and have an issue with how you're getting coverage and all this other stuff, well, that's the reason why. You know, you're not getting good coverage because this is not a real airbrush. This is just a marker airbrush where you just put the marker on the top and press the button to release air, which pushes the tint onto the part. There will be splatter. There will be, you know, if you run the case that if you have one of those markers that are super runny, that whenever you spray the first time, you'll just get a drop that you just can't make go away. You know, so you won't be able to make it go away unless you know, strip the part and then of paint and then do it all over again, right? So save yourself the trouble. You know, if you have one of these, I seriously cannot recommend this airbrush, this marker airbrush to anyone. Especially if you're starting. I mean, mainly because you can't, I can't justify the cost. Can you paint with a Gundam marker airbrush? Yes. I'm not saying you can't paint a whole kit. I'm not saying that you can't paint a fully detailed kit. I'm not saying that you're not going to get the results you might want for the kit. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that the level of clarity that you can get with your layers, the spray that you can, that control that you have with an airbrush, you're not gonna get it out of this. Okay, you're not gonna get it out of this. A lot of people think that you can, but you can't. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, even if you change to nibs, like I know that one of these markers had a nib. If I'm not mistaken, was it the red one? No, it was the black one. Okay, see, it was the black one. So the black one had a nib, and even though it had a nib, it still had splatter, like a splattered finish. I don't know. Tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments. Can I recommend a marker airbrush for somebody that's starting airbrushing? No. I recommend that you get a proper airbrush kit from the beginning, from the get-go. Get yourself some pre-mixed paints and then start with that. Then when you want to venture into the line of science and measuring, then you can go ahead and get yourself some Mr. Hobby or some, you know, some other paints that you can, some AOK, Silver Oaks, or some, you know, something that you got them pre-mix so you can go ahead and paint, right? So I've been using the Gallery airbrushes for a while now. I used it for my Gunpla Builders World Cup entry. I also have been using it on the current project that I'm working on right now, and I haven't had any issues since the issues that I had before. I know a lot of you have been very active in the comments and everything, so one of the things that I want you to remember is that the people that did have issues with their airbrush, Gallery did went ahead and corrected it. And if they haven't corrected it, then they're probably in the process of. My issues with the airbrushes were corrected, and then they also sent me another one so we can go ahead and try it, and it had 0 issues whatsoever. So, but yeah, they definitely recommend getting a real airbrush instead of this, okay? If you're gonna start airbrushing, do not start with this. Save some money. You know, if you're gonna spend $30 on this and then you gotta buy all these Gundam markers, save your money, wait a little longer, get yourself a proper airbrush, and then go from there. All right? That is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have some links below where you can, if you are looking into getting some airbrushes from Gallery, they don't just have this one. They also have the 39. They have the 98. They have, you know, they have the other one that I reviewed the video, the 68. I love those airbrushes. They're great. So if you do, I haven't had any issues with them. Some people might have mixed reviews or, you know, mixed feelings about the airbrushes or whatever their reason may be. However, I personally have not had any issues with the airbrushes, aside from the ones that I have with the Swallowtail, which were corrected. Okay, and it was just that one unit. The second unit that they sent me didn't have any issues. All right, so thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.